My guest this evening started his career promoting African language stations at SABC Radio. After lots of manoeuvring, wheeling and dealing, as you would expect, he now owns Gunguluza Enterprises and Media. Lebo Gunguluza, you would have known him as one of the judges from Dragon's Den, South Africa, is a name revered and associated with entrepreneurship. He joins us to tell us about the 12-12-12 principle, and it's got nothing to do with the December holidays, although many of us would look forward to those. It's about recruiting 12 entrepreneurs over 12 months to start 12 enterprises, an initiative that's in its third year. Therefore, it follows you've got at least 24 enterprises up and running, with 12 in the current year now.
Exactly, 12 entities that I'm supporting.
How does the process work?
It's been a very difficult journey. I mean, to select the entrepreneurs themselves. I mean, when I started I launched it in 2012. So I launched it on 12 December 2012, which was 12-12-12. Mm-hmm. Then I recruited the first 12 entrepreneurs the first year. Very tough process because the entrepreneurs I recruited.
You talk about recruiting. I mean, entrepreneurs aren't recruited. You bring them into a network, a support network, rather than hire them.
I brought them to a support network where I had an office here in Catherine Street, and I put them in a beautiful building, and I wanted to give them every resource possible to make them a success, but except give them money, because that was the whole idea. So I gave them the necessary tools to fish, but not give them the fish. So I wanted to teach them how to fish. And entrepreneurship is not easy. No. That's where I picked up that, there are some people that are just born to have it, and others, they just don't have it. They're just pure employees. They must just go back to work. So there was a big learning curve for me.
How many of the 12 survived 12 months?
Only 4 survived. And then in the next year, out of those 4, 2 survived.
Yeah, but that suggests the stats are right, because the stats will tell us that 90% of businesses don't make it past their first year.
Exactly.
95 don't make it past 3 years.
Exactly.
Those numbers kind of add up. So even with a safety net, even with support, even with those mechanisms in place, it's hard to crack it.
Yes, it was hard for them, because sometimes it's all about the drive and the vision and the commitment they have. So some of them, they lacked the commitment and the hunger to succeed. And sometimes entrepreneurs are very hungry to succeed. So they will stop at nothing to get what they have to get. And others were too laid back. They treated themselves as more like my employees, which was not the idea. The idea was to go and get business, get work going, manage your work processes, build a company.
Now, okay, so if your selection process then identifies 12 in the first year,
yes,
and by the end of year 2, only 1 or 2 survive.
2 survive.
Is that a judgment on your selection process, or simply the quality of entrepreneurs we got in South Africa generally?
I think it's a combination of 2, because the judgment that I tightened it up the following year, and the results were different. And as a result, that in the first year, all 12 of them combined, put them in a very expensive office with all the resources. They made only a turnover of 344,000 rands combined, all of them.
Did you spoil them?
It was a disaster.
Did you spoil them?
Well, I used to host functions for them on Fridays so they can invite their clients and get to know their clients better in a very beautiful space. And then the following year, I decided to relook at my selection process and the type of people I'm dealing with. And I chose entrepreneurs that are more hungry, that have got a bit of experience in the space that they're in. And I give them more support, I give them more of my time. The turnover moved from 344,000 between 2013, 2014, 2015, it jumped from 344,000 to over 11 million.
Okay, so something changed. Did the sort of businesses that you had decided to help change?
Yes.
Was it the selection of the individuals or the business types?
It was the approach. Yeah. It was the businesses that I decided to retain, that I think strategically they can generate more turnover. But also, it was my time that I invested more time in them and more resource in them. Like in the first year, I supported them with about 1.2 million. And then in the second year,
you added money into the second year?
Yes, I doubled the money. I put about 2.4 million and gave them more support, but put them in less sexy offices so that they don't feel that they've arrived. So So I gave them more support by put them in very realistic offices. I made them focus more on the clientele and building relationships with their clients so that they can gain more business from their clients.
So how many out of the class of year 2 have survived?
The class of year 2, I recruited 5 more, so they became about 7 of them, and 4 of them fell off, and 3 of them are still going.
Okay.
So it's been a tough journey.
So what's in this for you? I mean, is this a Dragon's Den style model where you've taken stakes in businesses and you hope to get a return one day? Or is this you just being super generous and a lovely guy?
Okay. The idea is that when I started my group, I started in the media space. So I got to know the media space very so I had my publications running, and I thought this is stable. And then I started getting involved in the hospitality space where I invested in a travel agency. I acquired stakes in about 3 hotels, and that structure now was starting to run. So, but it was generating such good business that I decided out of my salary that I get, I'm going to take half of it, invest it in the 12-12-12 program while I retain the other parts to sustain myself. So what I did, the funds that then I used to support with directly from my salary, it was very tough because I thought I'm investing in other potential businesses that can potentially supply to my group. So that even if they don't get clients outside my group, at least my group
can outsource
can
stuff
give them
to
business.
them.
Yeah, I can outsource stuff. So it was businesses like my chauffeur drive business. You know, it still outsources part from my business. So it's grown very, very well. My chauffeur drive business has got more fleet now. They've done very well.
But you've gone through this process and you've thrown a lot of money at a whole bunch of people, 24 people, of which 4 I've lost.
I think let's say 16 of them, not 24.
Okay.
Because others I retained.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but it's not a huge hit rate. Do you not lose sort of hope? And think to yourself, no, this 12 thing. Nah.
I must tell you, because it grew, I grew from 344,000 to 11 million. There was hope.
Okay.
So this year, it's been very tough this year, but they've been having serious challenges. But I think they'll do a little bit more than they did last year.
Now turnover is vanity. Okay, profit is sanity.
Yes.
So it's fine for these guys to do 11 million rand in turnover. Are they making a profit?
Yes, I make sure that they're in businesses where the margins are pretty high. So, but the chauffeur business, obviously the margins are not so high. But in my travel agency, the margins are not so bad. They're also not so high. But in the other media businesses, where like the government relations businesses, In Touch Africa exhibitions, the energy side, those are starting to show a good sign that the turnover is going to explode very soon. But I think, for me, the most important part was to try and develop new entrepreneurs that can be my partners going forward. And there's a lot of things involved.
But it's such a different way of thinking, because most entrepreneurs are so busy doing what they are doing on a daily basis that they haven't got time to be nannying and mollycoddling and spoon feeding and looking after and giving love and support and organizing Friday parties for a bunch of kids who are probably going to go bust anyway. What informs that approach that you're taking?
So I was telling my history, the growth of my business, is that I wanted to diversify in areas where are outside media and hospitality, because I think I had done media and hospitality for at least 10 years. So I just wanted to diversify. So I wanted to look for entrepreneurs that have got different ideas that I can invest in, that I think could be a great hit. And that's why I accepted the invitation by Dragon's Den to actually be there to look for more entrepreneurs, because I wanted to diversify a little bit and invest in smaller businesses that I think have got potential. But where my major business investments are now is on the technology side. So I supply software solutions that help government operate better. So that's my one space at the moment. And then the second space is that I help a government also manage their properties better. So I've got solutions that help a government manage their property better. I also invest in properties. So my next phase, which I'm investing heavily on, is property and technology, and also in infrastructure related investments.
Where did your initial capital come from? Because I mean, you went bust as a youngster. You blew it spectacularly as a youngster. You were on the bare bones of your backside.
Yes.
More than once.
More than once. And for me, I think the most important thing that I did was because the margins were not bad in what I was doing in the hospitality space. Because what I did, I literally sold space That was my business. I sell a corporate table, or I sell a hospital space at the Durban July, or I sell an advertising space on a magazine. I don't have to outlay capital. I sell beforehand, you pay me, I produce. That was my model. Yeah. And then because the margins were pretty high and the whole pricing arrangement was very subjective, so I took some of the good winnings there, and then I started investing them in these young people, as I said. And then most of it, I started investing in software development.
Do you carry on with 12-12-12? Is it sufficiently worthwhile to, one, keep you interested, two, to keep you committed? Because it takes a lot of time and personal commitment to give to people who, your own stats show, most of them aren't going to be here this time next year.
But I must tell you that my group did suffer because of the time that I moved away from the group and I started focusing on these guys. And it came at a price. But what I did, I fixed up what's happening at the group level, but now I've started dedicating a bit more time because I think there's some very strong, promising entities amongst these young guys, And I think I'm not doing badly. I think they will do very, very well.
Okay, so DTI has got big plans on creating 100 black industrialists, all of that sort of stuff, but it looks like it's wanting to do it sort of top down. You're doing bottom up.
Yes.
A more effective, more sustainable model?
Yeah, I think for me, it's very important to create entrepreneurs that have got a strong set of disciplines, processes, because most entrepreneurs think that entrepreneurship is about hustling. And I sometimes say I don't like the concept of hustling because you provide always short-term value, you want quick cash, you don't have a long-term view of building your business, you don't build processes, disciplines, and where the business can fetch business itself so that you're never there most of the time, but business can still run. Most entrepreneurs believe that they should be there all the time to make their businesses run, and I just want to change that mentality and say, look, build a clientele, build a sustainable clientele, build a business with structures and systems in place so that even if you're not there for 3 weeks, but the business can still run on its own. That's how these guys have built solid businesses. And most entrepreneurs, they want to run one-man shows. And I'm trying to discourage that mentality because you will never build a sustainable business like that. So for me, that's the main focus, is to make these guys move away from that mentality.
How many businesses did you invest in Dragon's Den?
I invested in about 3 businesses in Dragon's Den.
Are they all still going?
They're running. The 3 of them, they're running. There's lots of challenges, but the other one was a tech company. The other one was, they're both related to tech because I'm interested in the technology space. And then the other one is in the infrastructure space, so they're still running. So
you've gone through the Dragon's Den process, which is global franchise Japanese concept initially. You've gone through it. Does that change the way you treat the 12-12-12 process that you're going through now, the way you will select into the future? Has it altered your thinking?
The nice thing about those businesses, they're not startups. Sometimes they're businesses that have already been running, so we just plugged in some bit of budget.
But isn't that the secret then, to get in a bit later?
Actually, that's what I was discussing with my business partner, is that, in the future, I actually would not encourage too much getting involved in startup because it's too much work.
Yeah, you understand how the banks feel and why there's no funding.
Exactly. Yeah. So my focus now is on looking at companies that already have got some promise, and you just add more expertise and more funding to make them grow even further, because it's a huge risk to take on these guys that are starting up, because some of them don't even know who their clientele is.
I'm loving the conversation, but my producers are shouting at me. Lebo Gunguluza. You know what it's like in media. Producers control everything. That was Lebo Gunguluza, serial entrepreneur, founder, group chairman of the Gunguluza Enterprises and Media. Fascinating insight as to how he is seeking to add value across young entrepreneurs in South Africa. He's burnt his fingers, he's lost some money, he's been distracted by it, but through the process is learning better ways of doing it all the time, and that's massively encouraging. There'll be more entrepreneurs and talk about the future, plus a lot more next time on The Moneymakers. Till then, bye-bye.